Okay, this is the first video that's actually on mathematics now in the course, and this is Chapter P, and this is preliminaries and learning how to use the Excel sheets. And Section P1 is just on evaluating expressions numerically and making tables. Now, most of these problems you can do by hand, but it's worth it to go ahead and learn how to use the Excel sheet to do basic arithmetic, and that's what this is here for this first video. On this first example, it says the Fahrenheit to convert Celsius conversion formula is C equals 5/9 times the quantity F minus 32, where C stands for the Celsius and F stands for the Fahrenheit. It says evaluate this equation when F equals 32, 212, and 98.6. Well, we just need to plug these values individually in there for F and work it out. Now, we could do it by hand easy enough, especially with this number like 32. If you take the 32 and substitute it in there for F, you get 32 minus 32, which is 0, and 0 times 5/9 is 0. If you take the 212 and substitute it in, then 212 minus 32 is 180, and then 5/9 times 180 is 100. But it gets a little bit difficult and more difficult to do as you type in other numbers like this, 98.6. So this is where water freezes, this is where water boils, and this is your body temperature. So let's see what those convert over to into Celsius. And to do that, I'll use the Excel sheet. And this is the Excel sheet that's on your Blackboard site. Remember to always open it first before you start any quiz or test. A good thing to do is to save it to your desktop. When you do open it, click the macro test button to make sure that you get a different random number every time you click on it there. And if that doesn't change, then follow the instructions here if you're using 2007, and follow the instructions over here, or click on one of the videos here to see how to change your macro security. Now, we're not going to be using the buttons for a while, but it's good to have your computer set, and once it's set, it's always set. I'm on the instruction sheet right now, and to do arithmetic, you can use any white cells. Like if you try to type into these cells that are color cells, then what happens is you can't type in these. Like if I just try to type here, you'll see that you can't. And so what you need to do is go to a white cell that you can type in to do any arithmetic. So let me zoom up on this, and we can see the problem. And let me get that set here. Okay, here's the problem we need to do, and I'll just type in this cell. First you type equals. It's like a calculator, except you have to type equals first. So I type equals. Now, 5/9. Now, any fraction, always put that in parentheses. So parentheses, 5 divided by 9, close parentheses. Now, you have to say times on Excel. Just parentheses beside parentheses doesn't mean multiplication on Excel. You have to say times, and times is shift with the 8 to get the asterisk. Then parentheses, and what am I going to type in for F? Well, let's do the first one here, 32. So it'll be 32, I'm just typing that in, 32 minus 32, close parentheses, hit enter, and I get 0. Now to put in the 212, I'll just double click in that cell. And when I double click, I get my expression back, and now I just have to type in 212 where the 32 was before right there. So I'll just type in 212 here, hit enter, I get 100, and then double click again, and now put in the 98.6, and I get 37. So your body temperature is equal to 37 degrees Celsius. Now another thing I could do, so I don't have to keep on going into this cell, is I could make this a cell reference right here. This is going to be where I put in that number. You know, substituting in for F, whether it be 32, 212, or whatever. So what I'm going to do is right here at this spot where that F was, I'm just going to click on another cell. Let me do that again here. So let me make sure I get somewhere away from that cell there. So I have that in there. And now when I hit enter, it's going to evaluate this expression for whatever value is in this cell, E21. It's in column E, row 21. Now right now there's a 0 in there, so that's what we get when we have 0 in there. But if I want to see what it is when I have 98.6 and there, I just type 98.6, and that affects this cell because this cell is linked to this cell because in the formula it has E1. Like if I want to find out what the Celsius temperature is when it's 111 degrees Fahrenheit, well, that would equal 43.889 and so on. So that's how you would evaluate a numerical expression like that. Okay, on this problem, we're supposed to evaluate this extremely messy function right here, or equation, when x is equal to negative 3.21. So we need to put in the negative 3.21 everywhere there's an x right there. Now here I already have it typed into Excel, and I typed in equals parentheses because I have all this stuff in the numerator, so I had to represent that by putting parentheses around this. So this is 5 minus SQRT, means square root, of, well, I'm substituting a negative 3.21 in for x, so negative 3.21, that gets raised to the fourth. That's called carried up, and that's shift 6 to get that raised to the fourth, plus 2 times x, which is negative 3.21. That gets raised to the second, following this across. Then I close parentheses to end my square root. Then I close parentheses to end the numerator. Then that's divided by the denominator. So I'm putting parentheses. That's what these black parentheses are here around the denominator, and Excel keeps track of these sets of parentheses by color coding them. For every open, you need a close parentheses. So open parentheses, I put parentheses around the value that I'm substituting for x, which is negative 3.21. That gets squared, minus, I put parentheses around the 2/3, and then finally close parentheses. And when you hit enter, you get negative 0.6495, and that's fine. Rounded to the nearest hundredth would be negative 0.65. And you can always change the amount of decimal points or the format. I right mouse clicked on the cell to change it, and I can change it to, let's say, a different type of number with more decimal points. I could say just 2 decimal points, or I could increase it farther, or I could make it into a fraction right here, and it would give me my best fraction up to 3 digits right there. But generally, we just want to keep it as a number, and if you do that, we could say how many decimal points you want. So there's an example right there. Here's another example of evaluating an expression. We're supposed to evaluate this when x is equal to negative 10 and y is equal to negative 7. Just put parentheses around numerators and denominators, and put parentheses around the number that you're substituting in for x or y. I did that right here, so I did parentheses. That's what the black parentheses are around the numerator, and then parentheses around the negative 10. So open parentheses around the numerator, parentheses negative 10, that's what x is, minus y, which is a negative 7, close parentheses, divided by, open parentheses around the denominator, x, which is negative 10, put parentheses around that, plus 5, plus the next set here, x plus y, which is parentheses negative 10 plus a negative 7, close parentheses, open parentheses, negative 10 minus 4, and that's the whole thing right there. Hit enter, and you get your answer as a decimal, and you could right mouse click and format the cell as a fraction, and choose up to 3 digits, and now here's your answer as a fraction, 1 and 57/70. If you wanted to change that to an improper fraction, you could just take 70 times 1, which is 70, add on 57, which is 127/70, and that would be the answer as an improper fraction. And that should just about do it with this, and then hopefully we all feel a little bit better.
And now we can see the world for what it is. A beautiful place full of wonderful things just waiting to be experienced.
Oh, geez, another chick flick.
Thank you, Lois.